This exercise is for you to learn how to create a stair and a shaft, and also a couple of other features such as using railing and so forth. So we're going to create a two-story building on level one. The first thing to do to make sure is use the correct template. So when you do a new design, make sure you use the architectural template and not the construction. All right, so I'm going to make a 40 by 40 building utilizing um, brick on metal stud wall. And if you do this from the beginning, then you won't have that much of an issue toward the end. So you can just point it in the direction that you need to go. And of course, close up. So when you take a look at it in 3D, then it should be 2 stories tall, and it is. So the only thing you need to do from this view is to add another level to the top, which should be a third level, and that's where your roof will go. Right, so from level one, we'll go ahead and put some windows and doors in, and they can be generic. If you want to make them fancy, that's fine, but not necessarily have to be that fancy. We're only doing this for the purpose of doing exercise. All right, so I'm just going to put a 36 by 84 here. And I'll put another one back on this side. I'll flip it. All right. So you'll go ahead and put a few windows in. We'll do a double hung. I'll do 3 windows, one on each side, a couple in the back. So we're not doing interior walls. We're just doing this for the sake of creating stair sections. So from here, you have several different types of stairs. So if you come here and click on stairs, you can actually make your own. So let's say, for instance, that we're going to make a straight line stair here, and we're going to go up to the next level. If you stretch this far enough, it'll only go as far as it needs to go to the next level. So in this case, it looks like it's roughly about 15 feet 7 to get to the next level. And you can just click. So if you were to look at this as a 3D model, we'll hit the check mark to finish that up. Rotate over, and we can see the stairs. So we'll stick with either doing that or that, just so you'll know how to make it. The next type you can do same type, but this time instead of going all the way up, you're going to put a turn in here, which is going to be a landing. And with REVIT, it's a little tricky to do the landing because you got to kind of estimate where it's going to go. Okay, so that one, not too bad. I much would have preferred that it was you stepped up on the landing and it would have been even with the railing, but we'll just kind of leave it the way that it is. And again, this is what it kind of looks like. All right, so I'm going to actually keep this one, and then we're going to put the floor in on the second level. All right, so I'll go ahead and put the one in on the first level first. So I'll do my floor. I'll do wood joist, wood framing. And I'll just do a quick one. And I'll go to level 2 and do the same thing. All right, so we'll look at it in 3D. All right, so see our stairs is kind of cutting through the floor. So what we need to do is actually create an opening in there, and we're going to do that with what's called a shaft. So the shaft can actually start from the bottom level. Technically, it can, but you can also do it from the top. Sometimes when you start it from the top, it'll cut through the roof. So we're just going to do it from the bottom level, and what we're going to do is actually draw it around. So I'm just going to outline my stairs here. And if I kind of miss, I'm just going to move the line after I get done, because I think I'm off a little bit. All right, so I'm going to move it out. And that's going to create us a nice little shaft, and it's going to should create a hole in the entire floor. And if it doesn't, then we can actually adjust it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK for that. Take a look at it in 3D, and that actually worked out perfect. So, and if it didn't cut all the way through, I could always readjust it because the shaft is its own element. So I'll shade that so you can see it a little bit better. Alright, so on the second floor, since we have made a shaft around this thing and it's open, pretty much open space, we don't want to leave it like that. So we technically need to outline it with a railing, with the exception of right here in front. So we're going to just use a railing for that. I'm just going to sketch the path. And railing is one of those things that kind of acts funny, and you have to really pay attention to what you're doing. Right, so it's not going to be a closed region. It's only going to be open to a certain point. So outline around the edges. And I think I'll use, just to make it fancy, I'll use a pipe. Rolling. I'll hit OK. Take a look at it in 3D. Then that kind of get a good idea of what that looks like. All right. So that gives us what we need for the floor, first and second floor, putting in the stairs. All right. So our next step, we're just going to put a roof on real quick. And if you don't see your floor, you should be able to turn it on by turning on your underlay. And this was an issue that I had with another student earlier, where we couldn't really see the floor below. So usually under the underlay, we have to kind of select what we got going on. And there we go. So it looks like level 2. right, for and unbound it, and we're looking down, so that lets us see the outlines of the walls. All right, so then we're gonna go ahead and do a roof. We're gonna use a generic inch rafter. We're gonna set our overhang to 1 foot. And we're just gonna go around the building, put our roof on. And this is the front of the building and the rear of the building. So those two, I'm gonna take out my slopes, which will create a gable. And then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna set my roof pitch from a 9/12. And I'm gonna go with maybe about a 5/12. I don't want it to be too tall. And then I'm gonna hit OK. And since we don't have any interior walls, we're gonna let that attach to the walls, to the exterior. And it's gonna give us a gable. All right, so next, it kind of looks like a church. All right, so we're gonna copy our windows up. All right, so I'm gonna copy. And I'm gonna place them up. There's a way to copy them from floor to floor. So I'm just gonna copy them straight up. And I'm gonna adjust the header heights. And so the normal header height is about 7 feet. So in this case, it's 6'10". So we're just gonna make them 7. So not really that far off. This one I'm just gonna copy it, put it above the door, just to balance out the look. All right. So anytime that you have that your elevation tags end up being inside of the building or encrusted inside the building, go ahead and pull them to the outside. All right, so that gives us a look on the outside. So at least on the front. So we're not going to go far into detail on this. All right, so what I really want to do is actually utilize the section tool. Well, we want to put a ceiling in first. So I'm going to put a ceiling in on level 1. I'm going to put a ceiling in on level 2. All right, so height offset is 8 feet. So we'll go with that, and don't really care for that ACT thing. So we're going to use GWB on metal stud. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in, and it should respond to the shaft, and it doesn't cover it up. So I'm hoping that's the case, but we may have to take a look at it to make sure that it's not all covered up. So we'll hide our roof right for the moment. Let's type it in VG, down to roof, uncheck it. Hit OK. And let's see where that ended up at. So it looks like it didn't do, yeah. So the shaft kind of stayed in place. So that kind of helped out. Now, if the shaft goes up too far, which in this case it actually is because it looks like it's going through the ceiling, we're just going to drag it down a little bit so it doesn't cut through the ceiling. But it was good to actually see that without having to turn the ceiling off. All right, so I'll turn my roof back on. And then we're going to go back to my level 1. And I'm going to cut a section through the building. So this is one of your skill sets. Is that utilizing this section tool. So we're going to cut this section straight down through the building. And we're going to make sure our lines are straight. And as long as you do that, if you want to move it a little bit to the right or to the left, that's fine. And then it's going to cut through the section there. You can actually do an offset section where you come down and cut in different directions, but I don't know if it's worth doing all that. And you can also do another section here where you're just only going a certain amount of space. Since that stair turns, it might be a good idea to do both sections. So as soon as you do the sections, you're going to have the sections here. So you're going to see the full cut through the building. You're going to see both floors. You'll see where the stairs come up. You'll see the landing. And the second section, same thing. So in Revit, the only thing you don't really see is the fine details of the walls, such as your studs and so forth, insulation and all that stuff. That stuff you have to put in yourself if you're actually going to use this section. All right, so if I were to add a foundation and a footing to it, that would also be in this section here. But for the purpose of this exercise, that's what our skill set is to get these two. So section 1 and section 2 will go on a sheet. I don't know about the shaded part for number 2. Number 1 don't look as good shaded, so I'm not sure if we're going to shade that one or not. So I think we'll just do hidden on that one. And for your viewports around there, we can hide the element so it'll just be by itself. And we'll do that with both of them. So you don't actually see that. So these numbers here are going to change as soon as we put these on a sheet, and they're going to change up to a different number. So I'm running on 19 minutes right now. So let me go ahead and create a sheet real quick. A new sheet, load family, title blocks. We're going to go with the D size. Okay, and we're just going to put these two sections on the sheet. So we're going to drag them over, and we'll place them, and we'll adjust the scales as we go along. So we'll go back to section 1 and section 2, and right now the scale's at 1/8 inch. That's way too small for a section. Typical size for a section is usually be 1/2 to 3/4 for 1, or even sometimes 1.5. We'll see what 3/4 looks like. drag that down because 1/8 is way too small. Typically, a section is something that you need to see a lot of detail on, so you don't want it to be too small. All right, so we got those two, and we're going to go back to our sheet. And yeah, they may be a little too big, so we may have to take these down to 1/2 inch instead. And if that still doesn't work, then we'll just put them on separate sheets. It looks like that one will work. This one, that first one, I don't think it's gonna cooperate with fitting on the whole thing. All right, so what we may do with that one is actually shorten it up instead of cutting it through the entire building. So instead of cutting through the entire building, we'll only cut through the stair section part of it. And that only gives us just that. So then it gives a little bit more room here. We'll put our tag here. We'll move this one down below. And then that gives us pretty much what we're looking for. We may actually be able to add some color to this one. It's a little dark. Not sure if realistic is going to work with that either. Oh, well, actually, realistic's not too bad. So, actually, if you want to put it on realistic, that'll work. Right mouse click, deactivate view. So that's actually not too bad. Gives us a little bit more oomph, so to speak. All right, so that's those two. So you do your title block information. There's no owner. One. Sectioning. Issue page. Be your name. Circle would be me. And since the scales are the same, they're going to not change here. And that's it. So you're going to print to PDF as we always do. And then that's actually it. So using PDF Creator. So ArchD size sheet.